You're listening to the Schmozcast on 103.5, The Sun, WLSP, LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. I am Anthony.
Chandler.
Andre.
The glorious Aiden.
Ooh, the glorious Aiden. Very good. Getting things kicked off, we're starting off with Goldust. Andre, you think this might be the end of Goldust's career here coming up? Do we have one last little run and a push at an IC title or a U.S. championship maybe?
I don't think so. It sounds, I mean, let me see if I can pull up the tweet. But in the interim, I believe what the tweet had said was he had said something to the extent of his body is getting to the end, and I should have had this pulled up beforehand, but I was...
Well, the tweet was sexual in nature.
I don't know if that's...
Okay, good. Just
trying
to see if he's actually listening to what I'm saying.
As if anything hasn't been sexual in Goldust's career.
The thing is, if it was any other wrestler, I would have just shut it down right away. But because it's Goldust, you got to...
It very well could be. But it would be androgynous, if anything, right? Chandler, you have some of your favorite Goldust moments? Favorite Goldust tag team?
Favorite tag team would definitely it would either be him and his brother when he was still Cody Rhodes, the Brotherhood, either that or him and Booker T. I mean, yes. Booker T and Goldust was good times.
So sorry, R-Truth, but you're not making the top two on this one, right?
No. Unfortunately, as much as I love R-Truth and I always have, I've always been a fan of his, but that pairing just kind of felt like a rehash of sorts of Booker T and Goldust, and I just couldn't really get behind it. Do
you guys have any memories of older Goldust, original Goldust?
Not from actually being a kid, but I've seen plenty since.
Right.
But I don't have any, growing up stories. As God, I remember the first time I saw him with that gold suit and the cod piece, or the time he had, a bra, or Marilyn Manson. Did anything? What?
Does anything come to mind? Like any moments? Because I can think of a couple that are kind of like shocking.
Him dressed as Marilyn Manson, I thought was a fun one. But I'm a Marilyn Manson fan, so that's part of it.
What match was it? Was it a WrestleMania match where he had his clothes ripped off? Yep, Roddy Piper.
That's
and Roddy Piper.
I think that's going to be what he's most known
96.
for. I think it was 96.
The white Bronco.
And Mania.
And the gold
was
Cadillac.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. WrestleMania 12. But I do have the tweet, and this is what Goldust stated. Not a tweet. It was during an interview. I'm sorry. I've wrestled just about everybody there is to wrestle, done just about every character reincarnation that I can come up with. What's next? I'm at the end of my career here and about to be 50 in April. What else is there to do? I don't know. And then the article includes a picture, which you can't see at home, but it's a picture of his recent double knee surgery that he had. So
I was worried. I didn't know what that was.
Because in the interview, it talks about his double knee surgery too, but I don't have the full interview in front of me. I just pulled up the article from I just closed it. I think it was WrestleZone. But yeah, that's what I've read, so I don't know what that means, but it does sound like a man who's just had surgery on both knees and is getting close to the end of his career. And I say what a career it was, because there was not, in my opinion, there was not a lot of shelf life for a character like that when it was first brought about, because it's like there's only so much you can do with an androgynous come to life Oscar statue.
But at the same time, I don't know, he fit for the time.
Right.
That's why it worked. I mean, it was the Attitude Era, and just television in general, everything. Culture was like pushing the envelope. So,
and I meant that in a good way.
Yeah.
He took the ball and he ran with it and he knocked it out of the park. I took two different sports metaphors, but still, he knocked it out of the park. Should have done a movie quote.
With the ball and knocked it out the park.
Should have done a movie quote like Goldust, and quote the year and the title of the film.
Aiden, before we talk a little about what's next for Goldust, do you have a favorite moment or memory?
Well, as a newer fan of wrestling, there wasn't too many outstanding moments from Goldust, past 2010, in my opinion, compared to what he's done before that, especially with his Intercontinental title runs, and especially when he had the leather changed to, I believe, painted gold, which, just fits him more than any regular Intercontinental title. And to see what he did at the time, it was just kind of jarring to see that this was on TV and allowed on TV, and like no censorship pretty much whatsoever. And that WrestleMania 12 match with Roddy Piper in the Hollywood backlot brawl was just kind of almost amazing to see, because like straight out of like an action film with how it was choreographed and all. So that's kind of what I would remember him for, but obviously that was before my time. So, but either way, he was a very memorable character and is definitely worthy of all the accolades he has received. And to especially think that he is the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. When I was first introduced to him, I had no idea. Like, this is the son of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and they're completely counter opposites, where you have the common man and then this androgynous gold painted bizarre man. It's like slowly sliding across the ring towards his opponent. So to think that he really came into his own without having the Rhodes name attached to him is awesome. An amazing feat in of itself.
Aiden and anybody, but I'm saying you specifically because this is a newer moment. As you were talking, I was thinking about newer Goldust moments, and I started laughing because a very underrated match. And before I say anything about it, I want to see if any of you three have seen this match. It was Goldust versus William Regal in a Trading Places match, and it was gold. It was brilliant. Have any of you seen it?
I don't recall that.
I almost don't want to ruin it because
Is this where Steven Regal
Regal.
It's William Regal at this. Okay. So was this when he came out kind of dressed like a Vegas showgirl?
No.
That's
Okay,
a separate
so this is what it is.
All right, bring it. Go ahead.
Spoiler
Sorry, you know what I'm
alert.
talking about?
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I know that.
Okay, all right. Lay it on me.
It was on one of the... I wish I would have watched it so I could have gotten refreshed on it, but it was on one of the Raws where it was the roulette, the Raw roulette, I believe.
Like a Vegas show?
Yes. Raw roulette Vegas show, and it was William Regal versus Goldust, and they're backstage to find out what kind of match they're going to be in. They spin the wheel, and it's a Trading Places match, which means they have to be the opponent for their match. And then the match comes out later, or next segment, whatever, and Goldust comes out first as William Regal to William Regal's music, dressed as William Regal, the walk and everything with his hand like the way William Regal did. And then William Regal came out as Goldust, and at first he wasn't into it. It was so funny because he had the full paint, wig, robe, everything. Last Trading Places match, yep. And he comes out, and Goldust wins the match by very early on because William Regal gets into it when he walks into the ring, and he does the wait. He holds off Goldust, says wait, and does the whole hands on the chest and does the. And while he does that, Goldust grabs the brass knucks, and I bumped my hand on the mic stand here. Grabs the brass knucks and knocks him out and wins. So they both literally traded places.
We're watching it right now in the studio. You can pull it up on YouTube to get some of this. But this is good stuff. Oh my gosh, William Regal just showed up as Goldust. I give Regal a lot of credit for being willing to do some of these things when he seemed like just such a serious, no nonsense dude, and that was even part of his character. You know, you don't besmirch the besmircher. Great stuff. I think Goldust's greatest accolade in life or wrestling is that he was married to Terry Runnels. Holy cow, man, what a fox in her day and even still today. But looking up some of these photos, someone we listened to on a podcast might say that she's Roll Tide. Holy cow, pretty special. Goldust, you bring up the Dusty Rhodes and how he was able to. Originally, he was like Little Dust, or he was Dustin Rhodes, the Natural, or something like that. Dustin Reynolds, the Natural. Yep. And they wanted him to go against Hulk Hogan. Obviously, he took a completely different route, which I think is awesome. Like he had the road paved for him to be the certain kind of wrestler, and he could have easily been that next generation of basically just his dad and gotten by. But instead, he did something that really nobody's done. You could say the Goldust character is like part Gorgeous George, part the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. I mean, I don't even, plus like a movie lover. I mean, there's so many different kind of weird facets, and he was able to keep it like, this is not something that we just had from 95 to through 97, 98 when he first left. Like, he came back 3 or 4 different times and had Goldust and still not be stale. So,
and dude was willing to get implants for this character. That's how far he was willing to go to get Goldust over.
Not to mention getting electrocuted and then having a partial speech
Oh,
impediment,
poor
which he
guy.
ran with as a character trait. And so that's also a testament to his.
Would that happen nowadays?
No, not at
no.
all.
Couldn't get away with
No.
what did you guys think of? Was it Seven? Was his name, or Sin, or what was it? What was his name in
WCW?
WCW when he was playing like a stalker, similar to
And
what
they had to
DDP
pull the
would
plug.
become a few years later? But yeah, and then there was also, I can't think of. I'll have to look it up here.
Black Rain.
Black
and
Rain,
TNA.
Was
Yeah.
it Black Rain?
Yep.
Oh, okay, Black Rain and TNA. But
Mhm.
in WCW, he played. I want to say it was Seven.
It is 7.
Oh, it is Seven. Okay.
Or
Yeah.
it was.
But there was a while I remember where and it was right at the end of his one of his WWF runs as Goldust. He came out and said that he would only wrestle as himself for the rest of his career, and a month or two later
remember
he's back
Yep.
as Goldust. Do you have a
Which is
favorite
actually a great
era
moment.
of Goldust? Would you go with that Booker T, that same era of when he came back, which I want to say he was acquired because he was he with WCW, and that's how he got reacquired when Vince McMahon bought out WCW?
Possibly. Not 100% positive, but as far as a favorite era of Goldust, I mean, it would be either that or, I don't know, just the stuff he did in the 90s was just so different.
Isn't it?
Dude wore, and I'm stealing this from Adam Pacitti, so this isn't original, so I want to throw the credit out there. But dude wore a torso condom, basically, is what Adam Pacitti called it,
A torso condom.
and was able to wrestle in that, and I don't know. I get that he was supposed to be the gold statue, the Oscar statue, but the fact that goes back to my earlier point, the fact that he's able to run with that for so long, amazing.
Okay, so he was with WCW when WCW ended and was not picked up right away by WWF, but then by the end of the year he was I guess reacquired, and his AOL Time Warner contract was bought out. So that is kind of how that all went about. Interesting stuff, because he's one of those guys that they put back right into their character, just like Kurt Hennig was put back as Mr. Perfect, and they were like carrying over these gimmicks from a few years before. Not quite as long when you compare Mr. Perfect to Goldust, but one of those guys they put back in their character of what they were before they went to WCW. So Diesel, yeah, he didn't come back as Diesel right away, but he would eventually wrestle as Diesel, at least in the Royal Rumble a few years back. Is that the only time we've actually seen him as Diesel?
I feel like he's
back
made a
in
couple
WWE?
pop-up appearances like that.
Okay.
Maybe 1 or 2 other ones, but definitely that when he, like you said, he was in the Rumble and he came out as Diesel with Diesel on his gear,
Yes.
with the music and
And the silver,
doing
exactly.
the
rock.
Yep, the whole
2011.
deal.
Great pop for that too.
Yes. Well, let's talk about what's next for Goldust. Suppose this is it, and we don't get to see him in the ring ever again. That would be very sad. But I think he'll still continue to have his imprints on the business. I could see him going to NXT as soon as like next week, right? And filling a similar role to what his dad did. Maybe not as high level right away, but he's going to be a part of WWE. He could be, a backstage, like he could be creative. I mean, I think it's really limitless of the possibilities of where he could be. He could do something cool with Cody Rhodes now too. I wonder, depending on the contract situation, how this works out.
Also, according to Adam Pacitti, Goldust has in the past, I don't know how recent, but has in the past produced a match or 2 for WWE. So that could be something that's in his future, as far as maybe not necessarily even in NXT, but maybe on the main roster doing something like that, an agent or producer, what have you. I don't know what all goes into that other than what we read online, but that sounds like that's what Cody was doing it all in. So that's something that maybe his brother can try his hand at in WWE.
Aiden and then Chandler, do you guys want to see him as an on-screen character in WWE, or would you like to see him behind the scenes with NXT going that route, or do you want to see him kind of become one of the next Being the Elite characters and kind of get involved with Cody again?
I think it would be interesting to have him as more of a creative writer, since he had such many creative endeavors in WWE and elsewhere, since being such a bizarre character that he just molded into this almost iconic character that we all remember fondly. That, and I think that if he given the chance, that he could actually probably come up with a lot of great stuff for any up and coming new superstars.
Yeah, I think having a backstage presence would be awesome. Going to the performance center, I don't know, coaching, just whatever. Like you said earlier, he really, if there's any position behind the scenes that you put him in would benefit having him there. So,
looking at What Culture and their top 10 best Goldust matches, I was surprised that, I guess you think about it and right away what comes to mind is either him and Booker T for maybe one of the tag titles, or him against Roddy Piper from Mania 96, but they have a few ahead of that. They have him and Cody Rhodes before Cody Rhodes became Goldust. You have one, or before he became Stardust. Sorry, you have another one. Him and Randy Orton from Raw.
Great match.
I forgot about that one. Let's see what else we have here on the What Culture 10 best Goldust matches. You also had one higher, I think number 5 was him versus Undertaker. There's one against Val Venus as well. And
the Big Valboski.
Yeah.
Rigor Mortis. Do you remember that with Undertaker?
Is that what it was called?
No, that's a line that he had where he said to Undertaker, "Do you know what rigor mortis is?"
Oh my God, this is why Goldust is so cool, and it's interesting because like the Attitude Era, and I know he started a couple of years before we called it that, but he was moving the needle and making a lot of people angry in a time when that was really hard to do because when you look at Jerry Springer and Jackass and other things, Howard Stern that were popular at the time, Goldust was still able to, hit that needle with people and upset them or excite them or just make people root for him or hate him as well. So I give him credit because he was, even in a time where you saw anything all the time, he still was able to get these reactions out of people, whether it be good or bad. And let's see what they have for number 1. There is one against, we have Bret Hart. Okay, this is the Hart Foundation against Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and the Legion of Doom. That's at Canadian Stampede. And number 1 is Goldust and Cody Rhodes versus The Shield.
Oh,
okay,
when they won the tag titles.
I like that.
Dusty
the moment
was with
there.
Dusty up at the moment. They did the Shield fist at the top of the ramp. Oh, it was cool.
Was it
that was a
Battleground,
good? That was a really good match.
Or was it the next month at SummerSlam? Interesting.
2013 was a great year for Goldust. He really made a comeback then.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had some substance abuse issues that he had finally overcome, and he was in like the best shape of his career.
He was
basically.
in ridiculous shape. Oh my goodness,
And he still is.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal.
How soon does he get in the Hall of Fame? Is this right away if he retires that he's in this coming April?
Deservingly so. Yes. Will that actually happen? I don't know. I would hope so. I really would. He definitely deserves to be there.
Who else is a lock right now? You got to think that Vader passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a shoo-in, right? He should have been in long ago, but this'll almost definitely be his year. I could see Goldust getting in. I wonder what they do with him and Matt Hardy retiring. If this is officially a Goldust retirement, but how soon they wait? Because Matt Hardy's only 44, 45.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Shawn Michaels was 44 when he retired, and they had him in Hall of Fame next year. Goldust is first ballot, I would imagine. Same with Matt. Goldust could be on Matt's sitcom.
There you go, Aiden. What do you think?
Well, I think there's definitely no argument that they are obviously first ballot Hall of Famers with the almost legendary careers, with how many iconic moments that Goldust had over the years, and his longevity to almost speaks for itself. But I almost feel like they might wait a couple years because this is not an official retirement, but they might just wait it out in case they do something, because it's again, this is a unknown period of what is going to happen. This is more just speculation, but there's no argument against that. He is definitely going into the Hall of Fame. It's a matter of time, but I feel it would be a little later than right this instant.
Right, because it's not official retirement yet. It's just that statement in an interview that we're going off of. But it's close.
Chandler, is there someone you would like to see induct Goldust?
God, at this point, it would be awesome if they brought Cody back for it.
Isn't that the way to go?
How
cool would that be?
That would
that's
be
almost
awesome.
be the only way.
Yeah.
The only other person I would probably put in that category would be Booker T, since they had their really all great tag team run together.
That's a good one. And
Plus
he's
they
a
can
Hall of
do,
Famer.
and they can do a couple bits that comedy bits that they tend to do at Hall of Fame shows.
And honestly, I didn't even realize that, but that would most likely be what they would do instead of bringing Cody back, just because he's not under contract. And I don't think that he left really on. I mean, I'm sure there was good terms, but maybe not the best, just because I know he was sick of.
Well, it seemed like he was asking for his release for months and trying to trade out of the
he didn't want to be Stardust anymore.
Character.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, him and Vince are on good terms at the moment, though. So.
Well, there's that. I don't know. I feel like that would be ideally. It would be Cody, and I just. What if he brought him out holding the NWA World's title, World's Heavyweight title? What if he brought him? What if Cody
Cody
that,
has it at the time? That is true. I really like that. Cody's going to be there regardless because I believe Supercard of Honor 13 will be in MSG the night before WrestleMania, which would be Friday. You got the Hall of Fame ceremony. Cody can induct Goldust. Then Cody would wrestle in one of the main events at Supercard 13, and then you got Mania to wrap up the weekend. So he'll be there. How cool would that be?
That'd be pretty neat.
It's the ideal situation. Brother inducting his brother, to both of them having pretty almost great careers, and Cody's just still not over yet.
Is there someone else that isn't in that you really feel like we need to get in 2019 before we move on here? China's a great one.
Yeah.
You gonna go Chris Benoit on it too?
No.
Never?
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to let him in, unfortunately.
Andre gets uncomfortable when I bring it up.
I don't like... There's one or two Chris Benoit matches I can watch without...
I can totally block out. Well, not block out. I'm sorry. I can watch him and respect how great he was.
I can respect how great he was, but I just can't watch unless it's...
I mean, can you watch a Junior Seau highlight video or something?
Just killed himself.
That's true. Yeah. As far as we know.
Yeah, he didn't kill his child and wife. I can't.
I know.
Especially if he's the hero in the story. If he's winning a title, no way. But I could watch when Los Guerreros win their first tag team championship at Survivor Series 2002. I can watch that match because it's an elimination match.
Is that SmackDown 6 era?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's kind of like the crowning moment, or in some ways.
I think all SmackDown 6 members were in that because it was a triple threat tag match, 3 tag teams. I think all 6 of them were in it. But I can watch that, and that's like one of the few matches I can watch. Or Rumbles, I can tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
But just my mind just goes to everything that happened. If he had just, I hate to say it like this because it's so cold, but if he had just killed himself, I think it would be easier for me to go back and watch. But
No, it's fair to say. It really is just an atrocious act, and it is. It's not easy, and I don't know. But I mean, that's like being a wrestling fan. There's all sorts of these people that you root for that end up being awful human beings.
Carlito's dad.
Oh, and
Bruiser Brody.
Yep, Bruiser Brody.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of the history of wrestling is kind of nuts.
It is crazy. There's we take it. It's all the good and all the bad, and sometimes
look, we're talking about one of the Hall of Famers being someone as bizarre as Goldust.
That's right.
It's that kind of business.
Do you think Goldust is like a Ken doll down there? Do you think they ever had that discussion in a writers' meeting?
I wouldn't put it past them.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that. Okay, we're moving on from Goldust. We look forward to hopefully seeing him in the Hall of Fame next year. And if it is officially a career, then what a wonderful career it has been. Andre, you have up here about who attacked Aleister Black. You got any inside sources on this one?
No, but I have a theory that it is not going to be one of the usual suspects. I don't know how much of the NXT episodes that you guys have seen. I know Chandler, you're caught up. I don't think either you, Frony, or Aiden English are. You're dealing with your own stuff with the whole
Milwaukee,
I got
some other issues I got to work
out
before I get to NXT.
We'll get to that. But they've been going kind of down the road of pointing it out, so everybody is assuming that it's Tommaso Ciampa. And
the last I saw, they were pointing at Lars Sullivan.
Oh, yep, you're right. That's right. I forgot because I was at the most recent one I watched, the most recent one. But I think it's neither of those two. I think it's Johnny Gargano, and I think he's in for an epic heel turn. I just sense it coming because he's still getting the babyface pops, but he's getting a little smattering of boos. I don't know if you guys are hearing it, but he's getting a little bit of not 100% Daniel Bryan babyface type reaction anymore. There's a smattering of anti-Gargano.
That'd be quite the twist, though. But he just breaks because he couldn't beat Ciampa at
It was
Takeover.
supposed to be a triple threat match, and he didn't want that. He wanted it to be one-on-one with Ciampa. He had unfinished business. So I really think that's who did it. I don't have any clues or inside sources. I didn't read any rumors, no dirt sheets or
Pure speculation.
Journalists have said it. This is my theory, my opinion, based on my years of being a wrestling fan and past heel turns and occurrences. I could be completely wrong, but I think it would be cool, and I think that Gargano would be an incredible heel.
Chandler, what do you think about this storyline? And who do you have someone that you're pinning as the Aleister Black attacker?
Aleister Black attack. I don't know. The way that they're playing it, it's hard to call it right now. It could be Johnny Gargano. I don't know. It could have been Lars Sullivan. It could have been Tommaso Ciampa. It could have been EC3. I don't know. It's funny that Nikki Cross was like on the roof and she like had a bird's eye view of everything, but she's just so crazy. She's not really even giving any information.
She's not a credible source. Or
she was just sitting in a bird.
Her sanity is highly in question. Like, why isn't she with Sanity? That's the question. But anyways,
very good.
It's hard to call it personally. I think it would be super interesting if it was Gargano, and the way that Andre laid it out, it makes sense in my eyes. But I would say either Tommaso or Lars at this point, because Aleister cracked his jaw with a black mask in their title match at the previous Takeover.
Okay.
And that was legit. He actually cracked his jaw.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in my eyes, I don't know. I feel like Lars has the most motive.
Most evidence against him, perhaps.
Which is why I don't think it's him, because they showed him attacking EC3, and he did it in front of the cameras and let it be known it was him.
They're pulling a bait and switch on us, where they're trying to show us the obvious culprit, and then they sweep the rug from under us and reveal it's somebody else.
Johnny heel turn.
We'll have to see.
Johnny Froning.
Ooh.
Johnny Froning.
Jesus. We got a tease of a Shield breakup right at the end of Raw. Dean Ambrose was in between this new stable. Do they have a name yet for Ziggler, McIntyre, and Braun Strowman?
I and most of the internet like to just call them the Dogs of War, as Braun Strowman stated about his alliance with Ziggler and McIntyre. He calls them his Dogs of War. So I think that's a fitting name, since they're against the Hounds of Justice.
All right. Okay. Are you guys liking this trio right now? I'm not a big fan of the addition of Strowman. I like Strowman on his own. I think that's what his character has basically always been about, except for when Alexa Bliss is his sidekick, which I wanted them to tag team again in the Mixed Match Challenge.
Injury.
Yep.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah,
all right.
It's an arm injury, apparently.
And he's with Ember Moon this time instead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's
But when she does the eclipse off of his shoulders, that's a pretty cool move.
That's dope.
So I want to know how you guys are liking this team, and are they I think individually they are a formidable opponent for the Shield, but I just don't understand the rhyme or reason for the Strowman character, the way he's been built the last year and a half, 2 years, to do this right now. I guess if it really is playing it that he's using them just because he needs people to take out Dean and Seth while he continues his rivalry which I think has been Roman Reigns' best rivalry is with Braun Strowman since he's been called up. And Roman had some good matches with AJ Styles too, but I really think the Braun Strowman Roman Reigns rivalry is the best thing that Roman Reigns has been a part of, in my opinion. But I want to know what you guys think about this trio.
I haven't really been able to watch Raw the past couple of weeks.
So it didn't draw you into watching?
It didn't, no. And I've been meaning to get caught up, but I kind of saw, like, the last that I saw was the three of them kind of becoming a trio. And at the time it made sense, but at the same time what you said about Braun kind of being on his own, I would rather see that for sure. I feel like he's I understand not giving him too much too fast, but it would have made sense by now for him to be the Universal Champion. And he's had a few accolades here and there, like he won Money in the Bank but didn't get to cash in and win the championship. He won the Greatest Royal Rumble.
And he got a belt we've only seen once in a different country.
Got the
at
green
that time,
belt.
he got the green belt, and that was the only time we saw him with it.
Which in karate circles is actually a big deal.
But the red belt is higher up.
Oh, man. That is awesome.
The black
But
belt's the highest.
I don't
AJ.
understand why he hasn't won the title yet. And like you said with Roman too, that's definitely the best thing that he's had going for a singles like one-on-one rivalry is all the work that him and Strowman did. So yeah, I just kind of wish I would rather see him by himself at the moment instead of with two others.
Before we get to Andre and Aiden, I just want to remind everybody you're listening to 103.5 The Sun, WLSP LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. If you want to join the conversation, you want to give us your favorite Goldust moment, you want to talk about current product, being the elite, whatever it might be, give us a call, 608-825-0930. Once again, 825-0930. Andre, your thoughts on this new trio to take on the Shield, and also the tease at a Shield breakup where Ambrose seems to be the swing man here.
As far as the trio goes, I haven't watched Raw in 2 months. Part of the reason I haven't watched Raw
We
in
sound
2
awful
months,
right now, but there's an understandable. It's Aiden's job.
Yes,
I do
I do the unfortunate job in this group of ours that I have to suffer through 3 hours of Raw.
Way to stay up on it, kid.
Thank
Do
you
it for the
that.
team.
Yeah.
Take one for the team. I do watch SmackDown and NXT, and I'm caught up on both of those shows. But I haven't watched Raw in 2 months, other than the Shawn Michaels Undertaker segment. And the reason I haven't, not the sole reason, one of the several reasons that I have is because of the way that Braun Strowman has been booked and the way that he has not gotten the Universal Championship, which at this point in his career he should have had. And the only reason he doesn't, and I don't want to sound like a typical hater, but the only reason he doesn't is because of Roman Reigns. They didn't ever want to take the title off of Brock because they wanted Roman to be the one to do it, and now they're not. It looks like they're not taking it off of Roman to put on Braun. So that's kind of been one of the reasons why, and I'm not just hating on Roman, but that's one of the main reasons why I don't watch Raw. So I guess it makes sense, going back to the original question, the trio makes sense storyline wise because it's 3-on-1 without those two, and they're the two biggest heel duo on Raw's roster. So I guess it makes sense, but it's not enough to draw me in. It's not enough to give me any kind of hope that Braun is going to actually prevail and finally win the title. So, I mean, I'll watch the pay-per-view because it's the pay-per-view, but it's not going to draw me in to watch Raw.
So the way that, I've unfortunately sat through 3 hours each week, but the things that I've noticed are it's less of a trio and more of two guys being pawns for Braun Strowman just to alleviate the being a 3-on-1 instead of just have like Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler focus on Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose while Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman go 1-on-1 for their stuff. So I believe that was the catalyst for why he acquired his pawns, as I would say. So it's less of a trio and just more just to even the odds to where it's not 3-on-1, where it's 3-on-3. Plus, it builds up for the big match at Super Showdown, where then the real match will happen at Crown Jewel, where I'm hoping that Braun Strowman just defeats Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar in that triple threat match to finally become the Universal Championship. Because Braun Strowman is 1-0 in Saudi Arabia, and Roman Reigns is 0-1 at Saudi Arabia, so the odds are pretty good in Braun Strowman's favor.
So if Braun wins it in Saudi Arabia, does that mean he'll have the red belt and the green belt, and he'll hold them both? He'll be a double champion?
Christmas
yes, but
champion of the world.
Oh
Kane
my
might
goodness.
have something to say about that. And if you didn't get that gimmick or that reference, then oh well. You have to look it up. Kane Christmas. Just look it up and you'll see.
Either way, that's
Don't do
what.
it now,
Yeah,
but just-
either way, that's what I've gathered from watching Raw, as the unfortunate subject that I have to, the unfortunate burden that I have to bear, so that these guys can actually enjoy wrestling.
The sacrificial lamb.
I'm even more disappointed now by Sami Zayn's injury, just because I think that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens with Braun Strowman would be a more fun trio, just because their personalities, along with Braun, and trying to get him to do things while they, in the back and forth you could have. I don't know if that was necessarily the plan, because I don't think the timing matches up with the injury, and also you had Rollins already in this great rivalry with Ziggler, kind of going back and forth with the IC title. But I really wish that was the case, that they went that route, that it was Zayn and Owens thinking that they're using Braun, but maybe it's the other way around. But I just would have had a little bit more fun with that. But of course, Sami Zayn's one of my favorites. But what do you think about that if we change the tables a little bit?
That would be a lot of fun, especially just because of everything that Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman have gone through.
Their chemistry is so good.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. But at the same time, I don't know. It makes sense for Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler to team with Strowman against the Shield, especially because of the recent rivalry of Rollins and Ziggler for the IC title. When you like add that to it, it makes all the sense in the world.
No, that's fair to say. Also on Raw, you had the Brie Bella Liv Morgan incident, and this one has really taken off online. So she cracked her pretty good in the head, and
Twice.
it looked like the second one maybe knocked her out, or did knock her
It
out.
looked like the first one knocked her out.
The first one knocked her out, and
Yeah.
the second one still got her, which
Yeah.
is even worse.
Mm-hmm. She got hit with the second one on her way down.
So, do you think that if this was any other wrestler than a Bella, that there wouldn't be as much backlash online, because there just is this built-in hatred towards them, whether it be the TV show or whatever? But if let's just say that it was a Bailey who did this, I don't know if we would have the chaos online the way that we've seen on Twitter and everything else.
And it's very clearly a mistake. It's not like she maliciously did it. It's not like, unfortunately, I'm gonna go there. It's not like she was Sexy Star and went into business for herself.
Mm-hmm.
It was clearly she kicked her twice and realized what happened and tried to roll her over for the cover. And she's getting the amount of hate that a Sexy Star did back a couple years ago when.
Will you explain that? Just for some of our listeners.
So Sexy Star, as I said, went into business for herself. She was legitimately punching and attacking her opponent that was like incapacitated already, basically.
Put her in a submission, an arm
put her in a
bar
submission,
or
yeah,
something,
and it was
legit wouldn't let go or something. I can't remember.
It was something like that, but basically, she legitimately attacked her opponent in the match, which is just a big time no, and pretty much has been blacklisted ever since then. Haven't seen or heard anything from her since then. Whether or not she's still wrestling, I don't know, but Brie Bella is getting the same amount of heat right now online for what she did, which was clearly a mistake, and she apologized profusely, like backstage after it happened and everything. And I mean, you don't want to give someone a concussion in this industry, in this sport. It's it could be career ending, who knows, but and I say that I don't want that to be to happen, but just one single concussion could lead to something. Something that leads to something that leads to something. So for Brie Bella to be getting the amount of heat that she's getting, I mean, it doesn't help that she had the botched suicide dives a couple weeks ago, and just hasn't looked the sharpest in the ring since for this return. And I'm kind of in that boat too. I don't really care about the Bellas being back right now, but at the same time, Brie doesn't deserve the amount of heat that she's getting for this, I feel.
Andre is she's in Brie mode, so she's forgiven, right?
Also, there's that. I didn't
Yeah.
even factor in the fact that she was in full 100% Brie mode when it happened. So
All is
who's to blame? I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm not the biggest Brie Bella fan. I'm not the biggest fan of either of the Bellas. But come on, this is an accident. Accident happened. This kind of stuff happens in professional wrestling all the time. To make it seem like she did something atrocious, when and yes, concussions. Don't get me wrong. We were talking about Benoit earlier. Concussions are a serious issue, and I think people should be more outraged at the official for not stopping the match. I understand it's professional wrestling, but it's 2018. You stop the match when someone's concussed. But I digress. It's no different than what Shinsuke did to Austin Aries, or what he's done to Samoa Joe in matches where he's tagged him with a errant kick and busted open Samoa Joe, and way more than busted open Austin Aries. Oof. And he didn't get the kind of hate that she's getting. So clearly her being a Bella, and I don't want to say it, but maybe her being a woman too, but I don't know, because the Bellas do carry a lot of heat with them. And prior to this incident, she was getting a lot of hate for her one botched suicide dive. The other one was not her fault. The other one, she was not supposed to suicide dive. Her opponent was supposed to hit her, so that's why she stopped short, but the opponent didn't hit her on time. But the second one was definitely her fault. But either way, she's getting way too much hate for something that happens quite often in professional wrestling. I mean, I think Bully even said that, like, he's been concussed 6 times, and he said that and none of them were directly his fault per se, but it happens in the business. It's part of professional wrestling. Corey Graves said his career ended because of stuff.
See,
accidents,
exactly. Yep,
so
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
can't
it
be
sucks.
Mad
But
at her.
yeah, it's very clearly, if you go back and watch it, it's very clear that it's not intentional, or there's no ill will or malice or anything like that. It's an unfortunate situation, and she's getting a lot of hate for it.
Her timing was off on her kicks, but that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, this is just a pure accident, but as I recall, and I don't know if this is just like official or whatever, but I believe what was the I forget, Ruby Riott actually also gave her a stiff kick almost on purpose, because she's like, paying dividends. But either way, that's not the right thing to do. But again, it's kind of a situation that was handled badly, not by the wrestlers themselves, but more by the officials, by not stopping the match, even though it's a tag match, and they let it go on for way too much past the accident in the first place. So, and I'll agree that it's more the fact that she is a Bella that's returning and trying to get this big pop that's just not happening, and if it were anyone else, that they would not be getting as much heat. But since she's a Bella and she's trying to make the big return, and also again with the botches from the suicide dive, it's kind of like, oh, she's not prepared for this big in-ring return that's being hyped up for, and especially with the upcoming match that they have with Ronda Rousey tagging with them against the Riot Squad. So that at the first ever all women's pay-per-view for WWE. I mean, we can only imagine like what else could possibly go wrong with what we feel like is a lot of ring rust that Brie Bella has.
And Brock didn't get hate when he purposely punched a man hard in the head, that being Braun Strowman.
And straight up just really
that was a legit, I'm really going to hit you in the head thing.
That was a receipt, right?
Which is whatever, that happens too, but that was on purpose, and he didn't get heat that she's getting for doing something on accident. And that's Brock Lesnar.
It's also probably the inherited sexism that probably a lot of older wrestling fans have, that it's like, when they imagine women's wrestling, they think of like the divas from back when I started watching wrestling in 2009, where it was like not this level it is now. I don't know. I'm ranting
Case in
now.
point.
Yeah, a little Terry Reynolds action
Case
coming back
in
at
point.
us. I do think this has a lot to do with her last name being Bella, but at the same time there is ring rust. It reminded me of a situation maybe you guys can recall from the last few months. I want to say Balor got knocked out in a Raw match and maybe got a concussion, had to sit out the next week like he was still at Raw.
This was like
but this
2 years ago.
Was that long ago?
This was Jinder concussed him before Jinder jumped to SmackDown and won the World Championship.
Yep.
Oh, really? I thought there was
that
a
was
more
like right before.
I thought there was a more recent one, but gosh, I can't believe it was that long ago. But a lot of this, I don't even think we would be talking about if this, like I said, if this was Bayley or Sasha Banks who did this to Liv Morgan on an accident, I don't think we'd be hearing about it. And then in maybe like in a week or two, they would try and make an angle out of it just to have a more intense match for that night. But I don't think it would go longer than that. But now because of the social media backlash, I think they might like substantiate it even more.
I just want to point out people online did at one point call Sasha not dirty, but what they say that she was unsafe worker when Charlotte got hurt a couple times wrestling her. So she did get some of that too.
Okay, very fair.
To be fair, they were in a bunch of matches together that were not considered safe working environments. I mean, Hell in a Cell, Mick Foley will tell you that is not a safe working environment.
At least it wasn't red.
That's right. We didn't get to talk too much about that. Yeah. So were you not a fan?
God, no.
Okay, I was not a fan. Like, I think I would have been more upset if I was there. Yeah. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Just why?
And why was the SmackDown Hell in a Cell in a red? Not that they're going to bring out a different cell or paint it. I don't know.
They could have painted it in between the matches. One opened it, one closed it. Just have some people in the rafters.
My only problem was that they only used it
That's
twice.
Been an issue before.
They only used it twice when they could have used it a couple more times that night.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird stuff. So, Andre, you really like, just on a moment here, that Mick Foley special for the Hell in a Cell?
It was
20
awesome.
years?
Yeah.
20 years of Hell? I did watch
One of
that.
the best WWE Network shows that they have on there.
I need to check it out.
Well, I think he's kind of been going on a tour, pardon me, all summer where he was doing this. There was, like, I do enjoy it and I like the inside, but I also feel like, I don't know, like he was a little full of himself in a weird way, and I know that's weird to say because
He's
it's
Mick
Foley.
freaking Foley, man.
How can you not be? That was like, that could have been his last match ever, and yet he kept going on.
And the whole story of him being full of himself, which he reveals in that, I don't want to spoil too much for you, Chandler, but it's the fact that for so many years he hated that match and he hated that fans brought him up, and he's finally come to terms with that's the match that he's known for, and he's embraced it. So yeah, he was full of himself, and he should be. He took 2 death-defying bumps.
I thought it was cool, and there was fun things that I learned that I didn't know, and I've seen the match, I don't know, dozens, if not 100+ times. I'm not sure, but there was just times where I was like, gosh, does he have to tell this story in this way? I just didn't like the format a little bit, and I also felt like he was really trying hard to make himself cry at one point, and I don't know, man. I did like it, but there was parts of it where I was like, all right, Mick Foley, look, we're already huge fans of you. You don't need to sell me that you're awesome. Like, I already got it. I've been on that train for 20 years now. So there were just parts of it where I was like, all right, you're just calm down a little bit, buddy, okay?
But if you're in that audience that they filmed it at and you paid your money for your ticket to go see
there was a
him,
couple of fans I didn't like either. There's a lady in the front row that was selling it a little bit too hard. Chandler, you have to go back and watch.
Complaining about a Mick Foley stand-up and of all the things to complain about.
I know. I am a hater today.
And he didn't make himself cry. He actually cried. That was
he
legit.
crocodile.
It was an emotional story
about
crocodile tears.
a
Dude.
21-year-old woman that died. Come on, man.
Oh, what? I don't even. Whatever. Was her name
He's
Katie
Mick Foley.
Vick?
He gets a pass for everything.
Yeah, you're hating on a legend here.
That's
pal.
fine. Well, I tell you what, we'll give Chandler a chance to watch it. Maybe I'll rewatch it and we can argue more about it next week.
Yeah, we should, because you're wrong.
Andre, let's talk about your favorite wrestler of all time.
Shawn Michaels.
That's correct. And where you think this is going with Triple H, Undertaker, and Kane? Do we have a couple matches set in sight for HBK's potential return? like a tag team match between DX and the Brothers of Destruction? Is there a fatal 4-way? Is there a one-on-one, another HBK Taker? I know they've fought each other a bunch of times, but people would look at those last 2 Manias and then probably throw this one on there. But they've, there's some other great matches they had. Royal Rumble 98, the first Hell in a Cell match as well. The casket match was the one I was referencing at Royal Rumble. But are we going to see the continuation of this great rivalry?
If the rumors are to be believed, they're pretty not substantial. I don't want to say that in that sense, but I want to say that they're rampant, that a lot of people have reported it, and Dave Meltzer has not reported everything, but Dave Meltzer has said that there is a tag match that's going to happen. And other sources, I can't remember who, I wish I had saved this, but they had said that not only is the tag match with Kane and Undertaker versus DX going to happen, but there's going to be a one-on-one match at Survivor Series, allegedly, rumor and innuendo, as Conrad Thompson would say, at Survivor Series between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, which would be very interesting to say the least. But I'm all for it if that's the case.
Chandler, I talked to these guys about it last week, but do you think, of course we want to see an HBK match, but is it the right thing to do? And also, I guess how much of this has to do with the lowered ratings and them being, only one of us 4 has watched Raw the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the locations more than anything is the reason for bringing him for the draw, and that definitely has to do with the fact that ratings have been lowered, and it's not necessarily, I don't know, it's weird. It's a good product. SmackDown is so good. Raw could be better, but bringing in a potential DX versus Brothers of Destruction match in 2018. I don't know. I'm for it just to see HBK because it's been so long since he's been in the ring, and if he feels that like his body is up for it, because I know his back was in very, very bad shape at the end of his career. It's the reason that his career basically ended twice. Mm-hmm. If he thinks that his back is good enough, I say go for it. But at the same time, I really think, especially with Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, I think that more than anything, it's because of the location that they're bringing in someone like an HBK.
I think it's money.
It's Super Showdown.
Saudi money.
Well, I mean, I know it's Super Showdown, but I'm saying also there's potential for him to be there.
The alleged tag match is going to be in Saudi, and rumor has it that Shawn Michaels would be getting paid more than he would if he was working WrestleMania. So allegedly, the Prince wants to see it happen. So that's part of the reason they gave him enough money for that. But what I'm saying now is not part of the reports that I was referencing earlier. So I just want to make that clear that that's just like speculation and rumor and talk, not necessarily 100%
that would mean that Brothers of Destruction versus DX at Crown Jewel would be a very big draw, since there's only one match confirmed for Crown Jewel, and the Crown Jewel is like not too far away, like at 2 months. So, and they only have one match announced. So after Super Showdown, if they announce this, it would be a really big draw.
So that's like part of the thing to me is like, why now? Is HBK got the bug because he's been hanging out with the NXT guys? Is it the crazy Saudi money that's coming in too? Is it a combination of these things? Is it also the ratings being down and Vince is finally making the extra push to bring HBK in? Is it a combination of all these things, like the perfect storm that's actually going to bring HBK back into a ring wrestling, not just as a special guest referee?
I kind of had the feeling when he got to NXT and when he started working in the PC that it was only going to be a matter of time until he wanted to get back in the ring / actually does get back into the ring. So honestly, I feel like that might be the biggest factor of them all.
And I think we've had this conversation too at around the time when he was a coach at NXT. He had done a couple interviews, and I just could tell in the way that he was talking that it's only a matter of time before the bug really hits him and he wants to get back into the ring, because that's what he did. He's Shawn Michaels. He's the best that ever did it, and that's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Aiden, want to get your thoughts on this before we get out of here?
Yeah, the things I've noticed that when he's been interviewed a couple times, when people ask him like, who would you want to face if you came back right now, and I think he said Johnny Gargano was one of the big guys.
Like, Styles.
Yeah, and so he has apparently a list of active superstars right now that he'd want to get in the ring with. So maybe I wouldn't put it past him. Be like, yeah, I got one more run left in me. Plus, it's been 8 years since his retirement, so I'm sure if hopefully if any injuries that previously that caused him to retire in the first place kind of have mellowed out or have just vanished entirely, praying at least, so that he gets that bug and he just jumps right back into that ring and stomps his feet one more time.
As much as I'm not sure I want him to, I really want him to be the guy who stays retired, but if he is going to wrestle, man, I'm going to be sitting down watching every moment, every second of it as possible. So I love the idea that he is the guy who stays retired, but with some of the promos that have been going around, man, it's hard to think that he's not going to be in a ring between now and April. Like, it's almost, they almost have to in some ways, but... So we'll have to check on that. Next week we'll be kind of leading into the Australia show, which is called what, Aiden?
Super Showdown.
Super Showdown. There we go.
As what the actual superstars call it. They refer to it as WWE Super Showdown, as if we don't know what brand we're watching.
That's right. We're still trying to figure that out. Well, that'll be our show for next week. We'll kind of be previewing and getting into that and keeping up on whatever else is going on. The show is done, but it's not over. You can help us get over by giving us a like or a follow on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
That's
and you
right.
can get caught up on demand on YouTube, so check out our shows from the past, and you'll be able to hear this one pretty soon here.
That's right. I'm thinking tomorrow morning might even be the time. We'll see. No promises. Just kidding. It'll be there. All right, folks, thank you so much for checking us out. We are the Schmozcast. We'll be back next week at 8 p.m. or look for us on YouTube.